You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Alright, I've lost the music. Well, the music went away there. But that's alright, we're still here nonetheless. Oh, there it goes. Alright, this is Force 13 Live, and Hurricane Ida has intensified 145 miles per hour and a pressure of 946 millibars, verified by Recon. Currently, we have a storm surge warning and a hurricane warning, obviously, for those areas. It's going to be catastrophic impacts, I'm afraid. It's not very often that we have to say that, but particularly in this instance, this is probably going to be a stronger storm than Laura, even though probably not quite as large, but it is going to pack a fierce punch to the southeastern part of Louisiana during the course of today. Landfall is expected probably within the next 8 hours. I know that one of our teams said maybe just over 5 if it kept going at the same speed. Realistically, though, it's probably going to slow down a little bit. My name is Nathan Foy in the studio once again. Okay, perhaps I'm not, because there's a black screen there in my place now. Okay, well, let's move on. I just thought I would introduce myself, but I guess not. And we'll be able to take questions with the team during the course of this hour. With me I have Isaac, Joey, Z, Gabriel and Jonesy, and Walter I think just popped in there as well. Hello everyone. Obviously poor circumstances that we have, but we're here dedicated to covering the storm.
Indeed.
Nathan, did we go over the 5 a.m. update before the ad break?
Yes, because that came out at about 10 minutes to. They were very early with that.
I see.
They were.
This is our 22nd straight hour of coverage on Hurricane Ida. And just to reiterate that advisory then, they said in their headline, NOAA hurricane hunters find Ida has continued to strengthen. Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Ida expected to make landfall in southeastern Louisiana later today. Reports from a NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that maximum sustained winds have increased to 145 miles per hour. A NOAA Seaman station at Southwest Pass, Louisiana, recently reported a sustained wind of 60 miles per hour and a gust to 74. Moving northwest at 315 degrees at 15 miles per hour, 28.2 north, 89.3 degrees west, and in a way, and one of a few, I mean only a handful of ways, it's not fully like Katrina, but it does remind me of that in the sense of it's going to be making an early morning landfall not long after sunrise by the looks of it, like Katrina did.
16 years to the day.
Yeah. Much smaller than Katrina. I know that I think Devon was emphasizing the storm's rather small size earlier in the night. So impacts won't be as widespread, but they'll still be, make no doubt about that. As we see, you take a look at all of those numbers going down the bottom of the screen. Even in Memphis, Tennessee, there is a 1 in 9 chance that you'll receive tropical storm force winds, and those chances rise quite a lot as you continue southwards. Let's not forget that there is 2 hurricanes active. There are 2 hurricanes active, Nora and Ida. Obviously, Ida is the one that we'll be covering pretty much wall-to-wall coverage, as we have done for almost the last day. We also have a few webcams in the area, as we've been watching over the course of the last few, well, since the last 24 hours or so. We've been checking in on all of those coastal regions, but I think the team's webcams are probably going to be better than the ones I have eventually. There's a lot of traffic cameras out there, but we do have a few spots. New Orleans looking like this right now. very, very quiet, as you would expect. Not only is it early on a Sunday morning, but there is a hurricane warning, of course, and this storm is well on its way. As you can see there, it looks like a lot of windows have been boarded up there on the bottom floor. Not so much the top floor by what I can see there, but you can see all of that. And the camera's panning round, looking the other way now. Looks like rain is falling there. Of course, not too long before first light, and we'll be able to take another look at Grand Isle as well. Just takes a little bit longer for this one to load. Let's see if we can get that. Grand Isle right now. Just to give you some familiarity there, it's a fisheye camera, so that curved band on the not northern part of the screen, but the top of the screen is waves moving in, and you can see some palm trees down there. This is around a second floor height, looking down at the beach. Looks like a wave just crashed there, maybe on the right hand side. I'm not sure what that was. Just a little difference in the colors there. But obviously Ida is on its way. Looks like
And what else is on its way from Ida? Probably a tornado watch, as the Storm Prediction Center has issued a mesoscale discussion with watch probability issuance at 95%. I'm going to get that up real quick, and I will read that off. So they're saying a tornado threat will develop across parts of the southeast Louisiana and far southern Mississippi this morning. However, they do have also parts of western Florida Panhandle, which they did extend the storm surge warning for, the storm surge stuff 1 to 3 feet now, including Pensacola Bay, and also parts of southern Alabama, which include the Mobile area, is in this mesoscale. However, it looks like they may just limit the tornado watch to Louisiana and Mississippi. The SPC has said, I believe since day 2 or day 3, the historical analogs for tornadoes for Ida are Katrina of 2005, Gustav of 2008, and Ike of 2008. And Katrina spawned the most with 59. So Katrina really is the only comparison between Ida and Katrina right now, analog wise, is tornado threat, and we'll see if Ida ends up spawning as many tornadoes as Katrina did. But watch probability is 95%. So the tornado watches are about to start getting issued from the SPC for Ida.
It really looks like the eye is starting to clear out again.
Yes, that is something we've noticed quite a bit. It is warming quite a bit rapidly now. So that is an ongoing trend. The cloud tops are now clearing throughout the eye. And that is just before landfall as well, or just as we head towards landfall. It seems like it's doing that.
Looking at the imagery, that cloud that was convection that was in the southern eye wall has moved up to the northeastern eye wall and is now almost completely dissipated. And it looks like on imagery, it almost looks like almost a completely circular eye that looks like it will be beginning to warm in these next few hours.
It could open right out here in a few moments, the way it's looking.
Yes, definitely. I'm rather anxious to see what it's going to look like on Ida's going to look like on visible imagery.
Yeah. That's not far off. Sunrise can't be too far off there, can it?
Should be in about 2 hours or so, give or take.
Well, that will depend on if I see light coming out my window because it is past 6 a.m. here on the East Coast. So give me 1 second.
I'm sure you will.
You should, yeah.
But this is the very latest radar scope right now.
And I see plenty of light outside of my window. Sunrise for my area. Let's see. Louisiana is an hour behind. So today they said sunrise at 6:22 for me. So that's in 10 minutes. So we're about probably, if we take that into account for Louisiana, we're probably, about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from sunrise. But the first light should start coming in the next 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
It
Louisiana
is
sunrise.
still dark in my area, but
Yeah,
it is still
Louisiana
dark where
sunrise.
I am. But then again, my window is facing west, so
So, Louisiana sunrise occurs in does occur in about 2 hours or so. So we should be able to see those visible frames. That situation probably isn't going to look very much better on visible imagery, but it'll give us
No,
something to look
it'll
at.
look worse. Let's see if we can draw a line. Trying to remember the command to do that on here. Nope, I've pressed the wrong one. Yep, I've definitely pressed the wrong one. Okay, well, there's another backdrop. I'm not even sure what that is. I'll have to try and turn that one off. But quite clearly you can see the storm on radar there. Let's go back to more satellite imagery. Unenhanced infrared really shows that the eye is starting to pop out more. Obviously it's always been there. And as usual, we've had a major crash there. Not sure what happened.
Oh
with
my.
that.
What happened?
Well, it can't handle pressing a button. So I'm trying to press buttons to get the best things that we can get. I think I pressed one too many buttons.
Actually, when you look at the IR imagery, the eye is really clearing out.
Yeah, it's doing that really
The northeastern side still has a little bit of obstruction, but you can clearly see the circle actually. So I say this is definitely a bad. I can't say it's bad. It's definitely a catastrophic situation that it is unfolding right now.
If you have any questions for us, start your message with Force 13 all in text and it will link to us in the chat section. Any news on Recon right now?
Recon is still heading in. That's what I
Yeah.
can.
So we really haven't got any recon updates from the Air Force plane. All I know is they're still heading towards the storm. They should be getting into the storm now.
I
As
think
for the
where-
NOAA 3 plane, they are in the eye wall or just about to hit it. I think they're in it though. The
And-
last barb we have is 96 flight level with 77 SFMRs. They are hitting, I think the last barb there, that's on the edge of the eye wall. They should be in the eye wall or in the eye right now, and we just await a recon update.
I think the next update will be the center pass, I guess.
Yeah, so they
We'll have to wait.
so they did southeast to northeast, and then they did a U-turn, and now they're doing northeast to southwest, or they're just going to do northeast to northwest. I don't know what NOAA's going to do. We can only we do know that this looks to be another center pass, though.
Okay, and as we wait for that, here we are once again presented with the radar. This is live, and you can see that squally band that's moving along Lake Pontchartrain on towards the east. We'll be reaching Slidell and Waveland pretty soon. But it's hard to mistake the eye of the storm on the radar imagery, and looks extremely powerful on the eastern side of the eye there, from at least this radar's perspective. Question, is it going to intensify even more?
There is a possibility.
Well, it is doing that right now. It's still organizing, it's still strengthening. The eye is clearing out, and there is, I believe, roughly 7 hours until landfall.
Yeah.
The National Hurricane Center did say themselves that it is more than likely this will continue to intensify up until landfall. So
Yep.
honestly, depending at what rate is really going to depend how much stronger it will get.
There really shouldn't
Just
be.
to
There really shouldn't
reiterate.
be much stopping. Sorry to interrupt you. I'll be real quick. There really isn't much to stop the storm from intensifying. There's no eyewall replacement cycle coming in. Land interaction may stop it just a little bit, but it won't be nearly enough due to the really flat terrain of the marshy areas of South Louisiana. So yes, probably intensifying up until landfall. Jonesy, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what, like the NHC was saying. That's what we expect. It also had that very warm ocean heat content. It was in that eddy. It's either in the back end of, like, just inside that back end of it, or it has exited it. But as Xavier mentioned, right at the coastline, we're talking about 31 to 32 degrees sea surface temperatures. This is the warmest sea surface temperatures that it will have had in its lifetime, so it's definitely going to be warming up. And we're also talking about it's still going to have that energy that it got from the eddy. We're talking about it was over, amounts were over 200. I think I was hearing even towards 225. And as Devin was saying, 50 is for, normal strength, is, what you can see with normal strengthening with storms. Anything over 100 is rocket fuel when it comes to rapid intensifications and all that kind of stuff. Some 200 is a lot. We've never really seen anything like this. We're not really sure, analog wise, for ocean heat content, what could be like this. For those of you that want to know, storms like Katrina, Goni, Haiyan, Dorian. I think Dorian. I'm not sure though. I think Michael. Basically, all these strong storms. We're talking about ocean heat content's only 150, 175. This ocean heat content that it went through, the warmest on the planet, and also larger ocean heat content than some of the biggest storms on record. I think even possibly a bigger ocean heat content than Patricia. And Patricia was 215 miles an hour. That just gives you an example. And as it's leaving that eddy, I'm still saying it's probably going to still have some of that energy coming out of it. It's going into the warmest sea surface temperatures of 31 to 32 degrees Celsius that it's dealt with. So I definitely think we're going to see strengthening up to landfall. The question is, how much strengthening? We've reached the peak that the NHC said, 145. Our peak, based on our last cone from Ethan, was 150 peak. I think that honestly this could match Laura at 155. I would still not rule out Cat 5 at 160. I think we have to wait and see though what this storm does.
Yeah, roughly 12 hours ago, we were all talking about that because a lot of people were really concerned and curious about what were the odds of it becoming a Category 5 system. And we said that it was lowering at the time, and it would really be deterministic on how much it would strengthen within those 12 hours. And if it got to a certain point within those 12 hours, then those odds would be really on the mark and on the table to really be talked about realistically. And I feel as though it's unfortunate that we have honestly gotten to that point where it is a very real scenario, given the amount of time left to intensify, and also given the strength that the system is right now. But of course, it's honestly nearly irrelevant, mainly for the fact of the matter is that a 145 mile per hour system at this point, comparing just 15 miles per hour stronger, is the difference is very minute. It's pretty much trying to compare total destruction with just a bit more total destruction. You know, they're both pretty much nearly on par, and it's just at this point it's just a number.
All right. Now I've been told Recon is updated. I am using Tropical Tidbits. I also sometimes use Tropical Atlantic.
Yes,
From
supposedly.
suppose I need to. It's not up on Tidbits yet, but I'm going to wait and see what we
I'm going
have.
I'm going to need to
Breaking
verify
news.
this.
There is Reconfluent, and they have recorded SFMRs of 2 barbs of 131 knot SFMRs.
Yep,
If my information is
I
correct.
Yep, I just went to Tropical Atlantic and I see that the one the the second barb, which I is 104 flight level knots and 131 SMMRs. This is the one that I'm going to look at though. 145 knot flight level, 131 SFMR. That, my friends, if we take 131 knots and translate that to miles per hour, that's 150. I'm gonna wait on the pressure to see what happens, but before we call anything, but that easily we could see 150 coming up at the bottom of the not bottom of the hour, top of the hour.
Just want to intervene. One of our cyclone analysts has told us that that the analyst team have updated our intensity for Ida wind speed wise, and we are now going with 130 knots. They do not have a pressure yet, but they will give us that information when it comes out to them.
Yeah, so
130 knots is 150 miles per hour. Is that?
yes, that's 150. Kay basically saw that and said said Ida's now 130 knots, so I expect the NHC to follow suit and they'll make the official. But that right there, 145 flight level, 131 SFMRs, Force 13. We are with the recon update. Our cyclone analysts have said that we will be going with 150 miles an hour. We are just waiting for the eye drop sign to come in before we do a pressure on that.
Looking once again at the New Orleans webcam there, looking out. A lot more rain falling there in recent minutes by the looks of things. And just a note to our team, I've got to restart our app here because it's completely blown on me after that issue we had earlier. So I'm just going to put them away for a moment or two whilst we continue to observe what's been going on in New Orleans, which isn't too much right now, but obviously
Wait
rain
for the
falling.
center pass, I guess.
And there's our team once again. We just had to break away for a short moment. Let's see what our team. Are you showing any screens right now? Anyone that we
I
want
got
to?
a close up on the eye. If you don't mind.
Yes, let's have a look
Watermarks.
once again. Well, we've got plenty of imagery here ourselves, to be honest. Why don't you tell us what you're seeing, and we'll get the same imagery up on our end. Well, there is the infrared with the eye coming out even more. Let's
The
just
eye
see if we...
is circular right now. There's a little bit of obstruction in the center, around here.
Yeah.
But generally, you can see the circular shape.
Temperature inside that eye right now, 11 degrees.
Yeah, and I think we are now waiting for the center pass or the drop zone from Recon.
So there's the radar imagery once again. As the storm
There's a
draws
loop.
ever nearer. Let's have a look at this. That's exactly what we've been showing on the screen, so yep, gives you a better view, and the cloud tops are pretty decent all around as well. A sure sign that this storm is getting towards high-end Category 4 status. We're going to take a short break now for a moment. We'll be back after this with the latest on Hurricane Ida. Over the years, hundreds of tropical cyclones, and in recent years, particularly in 2020, launching out in other regional channels, doing weather updates and coverages there as well. We also launched our Earthquakes channel in 2020 and are going forward on all fronts in 2021 with a community that's grown remarkably in the last year. But it's not just about you being along for the ride, we want you to enjoy yourself as well as an Ultimate fan, and that's why we've lined up a big chain of benefits for each various stages on our Ultimate Fan program. Coverage continues on Hurricane Ida, a Category 4, high-end Category 4 now. The Force 13 analysts have just mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, that they're now going with 150 miles per hour. We'll get more news on that as it comes in. National Hurricane Center are doing hourly fixes, and they'll have another update in 30 minutes. My name's Nathan Foy. Unfortunately, you can't see me like I've been doing my intros in yesterday, but that's all right. We're looking at the storm, and I'm joined by Isaac, Walter, Gabriel, Joey, Jonesy, Orlando, and Z. Hello once again. This storm is still on an intensification trend.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's
Still
very
intensifying,
unfortunate.
unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, mainly for the fact that it's gotten so far already that it's basically gone beyond the forecast already predicted by the National Hurricane Center, predicted by us initially, and now that it has pretty much still over 6 hours left until landfall, with very warm ocean temperatures around 31 to 32 degrees Celsius to work with before it starts moving towards um, in towards the southeastern shores of Louisiana. It's just a very unfortunate case where intensification is still probably going to be on the uptrend, but how much is still uncertain. We could just hope it doesn't get much stronger than this because it's already at the point that anyone within that is within that eye wall, whoever is going to be receiving that eye wall, will be receiving damage that will be the equivalent of total destruction. And there's no other way of putting that.
Yep. Um. So from what I saw, and Joey, you heard this from our cyclone analyst as well.
Mhm.
The 150 peak that we forecasted in the cone a couple hours ago, that is now out of the date. Our cyclone analyst team are now going with a 155 mile an hour peak forecast at this time, but recon can always change that. Also, for recon update in the northwest quadrant, so it did a northeast to northwest pass. We have 118 flight level winds with 107 SFMR, and then a 119 flight level winds with a 104 SFMR. So that northeast quadrant, that right front quadrant, showing that it is the strongest quadrant of the storm, but all the quadrants of the storm have been getting stronger and stronger, and that's the scary part.
We also had a center pass, which extrapolates a pressure of 956.5 in the
Yep, so
center.
we're just gonna wait on that eye drops on.
But
The
this is
air
extrapolated? Yeah. So,
the
yeah, go on.
Air Force plane is now in the storm, coming in from the southwest. So it looks like they're gonna do it looks like they're coming in from the southwest, so it looks like they're gonna do a southwest to northeast pass as. So we're gonna get another northeast pass. So we're gonna finally see what that that southwest quadrant is looking like, because that's been the quadrant we've not really seen at all. We're supposed to get a northeast to southwest pass on the last Air Force plane, but because it found the jaw dropping numbers and found it literally went from Cat 2 to Cat 4 like that in the span of like 2 hours, 3 hours. Um, they didn't even go southwest. They did a loop in the eye and then went up north and out of the storm. So we're finally going to see what the winds are looking like in that southwest quadrant.
Once
Also,
again,
it's
we're
supposed
looking at radar of the storm right now, and you can see how much closer it's edging towards the coast of Louisiana. Latest satellite estimate indicates that landfall is now 70 miles away. So that, I think, when did I go to air? It was nearly an hour ago, so it was 80 miles back then, so it must have moved about 10 miles in about 45 minutes here.
Yep, the NHC has been saying about 50 miles. It's moving about 15 miles an hour. So we'll see if it keeps moving at that or if it starts to slow down.
Yep, could happen at any time. Just to get a latest eye temperature, 12 degrees right now.
That's not good. So we do have news. AF305 is in the storm now, and it looks like it will be going for a southwest to northeast pass.
Yep, I did mention that. And as I was saying, we're finally going to see what the southwest quadrant is looking like compared to the rest of the storm.
Yeah, it's probably going to be maybe on the weaker side, but that's honestly common for most hurricane structures that the southwestern side does tend to be the weakest out of the four quadrants. But regardless of what, the system is very powerful and still packing an extraordinary punch.
unenhanced satellite imagery showing quite clearly the, well, in black and white, the center of the storm, its rotation, its movement, its progress towards its eventual landfall. Assuming it keeps going then at 15 miles per hour at its current trajectory, should mean a landfall very close to Grand Isle in, and I'm struggling to count this early in the morning, less than 5 hours if it keeps going at that speed. But we still don't know if it may just turn a little bit and slow down. That's the big question. We know that's going to happen at some point.
Just a matter of when it happens, really. It's this is just a very incredible storm for all around reasons. It's just at first when it came off of Cuba, its core got disrupted a little bit, and so the intensity forecast at least was kind of on a downslope, and then now of course it got itself better organized within the past 10 hours here or so, and we're looking at a really high-end Category 4 trying to push to low-end Category 5 Hurricane Ida here, unfortunately, right up pretty much until landfall here. Just an absolutely incredible situation, incredible storm, I mean, and it's really unfortunate how it's impacting. It's going to be impacted in heavily populated areas. Had this been over open waters, this would have been an amazing storm to track, but it's unfortunately heading right into one of the most vulnerable spots in the Gulf Coast and maybe even the United States period here for these types of strong storms. And for those of you guys who are wanting to evacuate, your time is pretty much up, and it's been up for, gosh, probably about the last 10 hours or so here. So you really have to hunker down and find a really suitable shelter to ride this thing out in. This is an intensifying high-end Category 4 we're looking at here, probably trying to reach low-end Category 5 at this rate. So I don't really know how else to put it besides that. It's just really sobering news, to say the least. And I personally haven't been able to sleep. I've only slept 3-4 hours. This is just absolutely, again, I don't have any words. I just hope everybody gets through this all right, and we get through this with the least amount of casualties as possible with this. Nathan.
Well, here is a close-up of the enhanced infrared imagery showing the storm's eye wall,
Nathan,
and
I have to break you in. We had a drop zone on the eye. It's set 936 millibars
Oh my goodness.
at the surface. Yeah.
And what was the last one for reference?
Hold on.
What was that? 9:30 what?
He said 936.
Yeah, 936 with a 14 knot wind, so probably around 935.
I have no
I believe-
words, honestly.
I,
That's
I
just,
believe before that was the mid 940s.
I want to say so too, but we're probably gonna find out in just a moment here. But that is, again, I really have no words.
Yeah,
The storm has just been so. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, it's been so. It was at first it seemed a little stubborn and didn't really want to rapidly intensify, which is of course
Oh my
absolutely
God.
great news to hear. And then now it's really wanting to become a Category 5 before it makes landfall. Unfortunately, from what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, that's for those that are in the pathway still and have not managed to find a shelter and just starting to wake up this morning to just hear this information. And of you guys that happen to be watching, I know a lot of parishes are having their shelters open up this morning. So please, if you are in harm's way, please find a shelter. Don't stay in your property. Don't take those chances, man. It's not worth it.
Just wanted to
I am going
share.
to assume Ida's name is going to be retired.
Just wanted to share some information what I found on some of the imagery,
Probably.
and that is that the storm looks to be taking in those last few frames looks to be moving a little bit more north. It looks to be taking a less westward turn that it was taking before. It looks like it's moving more north, and it looks like it's starting to slow down just a little bit.
Alrighty, the fix is in. Based on that eye drops sound, we are going 130 knots, 935, 150 mile an hour, 935, and that is probably what the NHC is going to go with at the top of the hour as well. We wait and see. That. Oh,
Oh boy.
It's
it's literally a repeat of earlier when it literally went. When it literally dropped. This is the second time in 6 hours that it's dropped 12 millibars or 11 millibars in an hour and 45 minutes. Let that sink in. This is the second time since midnight in the last 6 hours and 45 minutes that it has happened twice of a pressure drop of at least 11 millibars in a span of 1 hour and 45 minutes.
and it's unfortunate that it happens to be still interacting with that warm eddy just to the south of it, as well as water temperatures that are 31 degrees and 32 degrees Celsius right along the shoreline. So honestly, it's really sad that it has all this fuel and all these good conditions just lining up for it to continue doing things like this up until landfall. It's still, no one really knows how strong it'll get by the time landfall arrives, but at this point, it's already as worse as you can get.
Going off of what Gabriel was saying earlier about the northerly components in the last few frames, I'm also noticing that on radar imagery, you see how it pretty much goes due west the last few frames. I mean, the before frames, and then now in the last few frames, it looks to be getting a more northerly component to the motion in the last probably 10, 20 frames on the radar imagery. So that's a concerning trend to say the least.
That's for certain, mainly for the fact that, of course, as mentioned before, this is honestly going to be very bad for a lot of people, especially in the New Orleans metro area. And honestly, with the amount of storm surge expected, it's, yeah, it's really going to be ugly. And I really hope that if anyone is listening, they can at least make it in time to a shelter, because those are still open, those are still within reach. It's still possible to get there. The storm isn't onshore enough that it'll hinder travel. So if you can, right now this morning would be the time to do so.
I'd like to mention that the AF-305 plane is just about in the outer eye wall here. That is the Air Force plane. We also have a NOAA plane going on at the same time too, also making sensor passes in this. So thank God we have two reconnaissance planes ongoing in this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't lose any more communication with any one of them like we have the past few days with this storm.
Yeah, all these flights are very valuable, mainly for the fact that it provides us the information that we need to get the right intensity and get the right forecast out to the people that are in the way of this. So it's really concerning that though it just has to be this severe and this grave of a situation.
Yeah, like I said, this would have been amazing had it been over open waters and been out affecting nobody, but we're dealing with a scenario where it's going to be impacting, like I said earlier, probably one of the most vulnerable places in the country where a hurricane of this magnitude could make landfall in.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning that it's very unfortunate that the area that it's going into is also not just vulnerable, but very well populated. And I believe it's probably the most populated area within the entire state of Louisiana. So honestly, it's really terrible that this has to be happening now and has to be a storm of this intensity and of this magnitude.
Coming up to 6 a.m. Central Time, we'll see what the National Hurricane Center say at their next update statement, which of course they'll be producing on the hour.
Alrighty, so we're about to get a center pass of southwest to northeast on Air Force 305 in the southwest quadrant. We have 99 flight level winds and 93 SFMRs. And that last barb is in the eye wall, by the way. As we said, the southwest quadrant is usually the weakest quadrant. They are in the eye. If not, they have gotten out of the eye already and are in that northeast eye wall. So we're about to get yet another center pass, but that drop zone will not be available before this update statement.
Another concerning thing is that now that Ida is becoming more visible on the radar here, I'm looking at the velocities here, and keep in mind this is pretty far away from the radar site in New Orleans, but it's going off my scale at over 141 miles an hour, at least on the eastern side of the eye uh, on radar. Also, still noticing lots of eyewall lightning um, with that too.
So again, that is the latest radar there on our screen, and new satellite images coming in as well. Latest eye temperature indication here, 13 degrees, 14 now. Oh, I'm sorry, 15 degrees in the latest satellite image. Inside the eye, another indicator of strength, especially when it's wrapped around by minus 70 degree cloud tops. The weakest point of the eye wall is minus 69, and the strongest part is the northern side, minus 78 in terms of the satellite structure. Of course, on radar, this is how it looks on our screen, with that red ring around the eye there. That inner eye wall is going to be extremely destructive.
Without a doubt, looking at the latest reconnaissance data, and if this storm has, if by miracle it's peaked in intensity right now, a 145, 150 mile an hour Category 4 is nothing to take lightly. You saw what that did with what happened with Hurricane Laura when it made landfall as a 150 mile an hour Cat 4, and lots of the damage there was just absolutely just crazy. So just because maybe if it somehow ends up plateauing in intensity doesn't mean you need to stop taking it seriously. This is about as worst case scenario as you get, unfortunately. Like I said, this is just, I mean, I just woke up right right now, and I'm speechless. Probably like most everybody else in this call is. I don't really know exactly what to say other than just hope everybody stays safe in this, and if you stayed in this, just wish you the best and hope you have a really solid and hopefully concrete structure to shelter in when this passes over you.
I've been in this stream since 8 o'clock. I was in and out between 3 and 8, but I was in a couple times and then out a couple times. I also was out for a little bit around midnight, but I've been here since 8 p.m. I've seen this thing, and as I said, I originally joined the stream at 3 p.m. I've seen this thing go to from Cat 1 all the way up to where we're at now, 150 miles an hour. This thing, how it's grown absolutely absurd and speechless that I've seen how this thing has grown in the past 15 to 16 hours.
First light at
Insane.
Destin, Florida there. You can see how it's looking out there. Darker towards the right-hand side, which is where the storm is. Pensacola Beach. This is obviously quite some distance away from the hurricane, but you can see the outer parts of the storm just getting into the first light now. Obviously, we'll be able to see more in daylight when it arrives in the New Orleans area and the landfall zone.
1 to 3 foot storm surge for Pensacola, by the way.
Yep. Indeed, they can still receive a storm surge over there as well. And there's New Orleans right now. Raining, it seems, but fairly calm still at this point. Looks like just some light rain on radar over the center of New Orleans at the moment. As for Grand Isle, which I think the camera's still rolling there. Yep. Again, it's only about 1 frame per second, so you can't see fully in full clarity, and of course it's dark. Some rain bands moving through, not huge amount on radar by the looks of things, but this could get, what might be a pulverizing inner eye wall of this storm when it arrives around 70 miles away at the present, and moving on in at about 15 miles per hour.
Yeah, that camera survived Hurricane Zeta, and I don't have the same hope with this one, unfortunately. This is a lot stronger than Zeta was.
A lot.
That's not the camera we used during Zeta, is it?
It is.
Are you sure? I thought it was more. I thought it had more stream than that.
It's the same camera. I don't know if they downgraded the internet or the camera or something, but
right.
Yeah, I can confirm it's the same camera.
Oh, okay. And Isaac, you're showing us another radar view right now as well, which I think we should take a look at.
Yes, this is the storm as it's been progressing over the past 5 hours or so. And you can see in the earlier frames it was pretty much heading due northwest there. And in the last few frames of radar, I'm noticing a more northerly shift on the loop. I don't know if you're seeing that too, but we'll see if that continues or not, or if it's just a temporary wobble towards that direction, because storms of this intensity do sometimes tend to do that, but I'm kind of leaning more on it being maybe an actual trend here.
That's something to watch for. National Hurricane Center will update with their hourly update soon. Of course, that's what they're doing now. Updates every hour. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break here as we continue to look at the storm. We'll be back at the top of the hour with more discussion from our team and with that National Hurricane Center update as it comes hot off the press. Stay tuned as we enter the 6 o'clock hour Central Time, with the storm continuing to approach land and a potentially catastrophic landfall. Our live coverage will continue in a moment.